Fire Escape Engineers Inspect the Summary video here in Somerville. This is what I would consider the 4th floor, and the ground floor is going to be down below. So this is ground first, second, third. This is probably going to be the 4th. We have a pre-existing non-conforming issue here that we need to discuss with the city official. We have a catwalk that feeds the window to the fire escape, and this the city official will have to determine whether or not this is pre-existing and it'll stay as is, or do they want a catwalk raised. It could be made out of metal or wood. If it's made out of wood, it's got to be fire rated. If it's going to be made out of metal, it's got to be, again, 8 inches off grade, and it's got to basically feed the people to here. We have an existing fire escape system that has some original hardware, and so again we can proceed to a load test if on the connections that are in fair to good condition, and anything that is not in fair to good condition needs to be repaired before we proceed to a load test, or we can change all the hardware on here and then we'll proceed to a certification in lieu of a load test. And the final and third option here is going to be an affidavit which is an opinion affidavit along with a disclaimer of liability, which we'll discuss with the client as well as with the city official. So those are 3 options here. So let's talk about what some of the things that need to be done here on this. First thing we're going to have is definitely we have through bolts going into the building, so that's a good sign, and those are probably going to be verifiable on the inside. We have original hardware square head bolts on all of the brackets. So there's square head bolts there, so that we can either load test to verify them, or if we want, we can offer an opinion affidavit with a disclaimer on the ones that are good. And these seem to be in good order up here, so we can either go to load test or offer a certificate with an opinion. But the grading is the biggest issue. In all the floors, all the grading is starting to pop. See these spacers? They're all rotting from the inside out. So 2 options here. You can reinforce the existing, seal these up so they stop rotting, and reinforce with a piece of flat underneath so that you can keep the existing gratings and get another 5 or 10 years more. Or swap these gratings out and with new galvanized grating, and that should buy you some time for the next 20 to 25 years if you swap out the grating. Okay, we got some fasteners here that are new bolts, so we do definitely have evidence of maintenance. So we have some hex head bolts here throughout, so that looks like it's been repaired properly in the past. It does have a paint job, so it looks like it's due for another paint job. It looks like painting has been in the past. And so now let's go down. That industry standard tie-ins into the roof. Looks like we just got to make sure that those are pressure treated and that those are properly tied back into the building. This piece here. But here we have some rust happening in this E-clip, which is holding the entire staircase. You see all the rust here? That's got to be cleaned out and change all the bolts. That's got to be cleaned out and change all the bolts. Seal it up with silicone. Going down on these fire escape treads, 100% of these treads here are original hardware treads, but I don't see much evidence of rust on the inside, so they got original hardware. So if you want, you can load test these treads, this tread system, because down below they've changed the bolts on the ones down below, but not here. So original 50 to 75-year-old bolts here. Load test it, that'll get you the load test guarantee, or you can change the bolts out to do the certification. Otherwise, the city allows an opinion, will issue an opinion affidavit with a disclaimer that these look pretty good to us. So going down the treads, I don't see many problems with these treads. All the way down, it's all original hardware, but there's no huge buildup of rust inside the connections. So again, there's a couple of options there. Original hardware here on all the gussets, and they seem to be in good order. They just need to be cleaned, so we can either load test these for the assurances that you're looking for, or just generate an opinion affidavit on these. But again, it'll come with a disclaimer. So again, all of them are original hardware on this fire escape here. Coming all the way down, let's take a look at the bottom feet here. The bottom feet here have rust buildup, so these need to be cleansed of all the rust. See the rust buildup in there? You gotta clean that out. You gotta clean this out. And then, so this is no option. You got to clean out the rust. You got to change the bolts. Then whenever you put everything back, you got to seal it with silicone so that there's no question. Original hardware here, so we can provide a load test or an opinion on this. Otherwise, you swap this out. There's no need. Swap out this bolt. So that's 4th floor, coming down with a set of stairs on this one. So this is 3rd floor. Call this the 3rd floor. Now we're coming to the 2nd floor. And any questions, Fire Escape Engineers, 866-649-0333. Fire Escape Engineers, Somerville. Here, this is the second floor of this property in Somerville. Again, original hardware in some of the cases. If you want to load test it, swap it out. There is no load test, or we can provide you an opinion that an opinion affidavit, which is saying that we think this is a good bolt, but we want a disclaimer of liability on any original hardware that is left behind. The same issue that you have on the third floor is the same issue you have on this floor. All these spacers on the grating is all popped. All of them have all popped, and so with that amount of rust, to keep these existing gratings, you're going to put a piece of flat underneath, and you're going to secure it there, maybe two in the middle, and then one on the other. You just don't want these to open up and your foot gets stuck in these. So change the grating out or reinforce the existing grating, but you can't weld. Don't forget, anything older than 78 has lead, so welding is not an option on this fire escape because you got lead-based primer and lead-based paint on all this fire escape. But you can do this all with bolts and fasteners with a underneath. So you put a flat underneath and you put the spacers, and that holds these together. Otherwise, the client can swap these out and put a new galvanized grating at this time, and that'll buy some time. As we go down to the other floor over there, one of the other issues is the same thing. See these treads? See that spacer giving way and that rod that comes through? These is where they all rot out. So what you have to do is, to save the tread so you don't have to replace a tread, you put a piece of flat underneath here, and you put a spacer grabber here, which is a McNichols clip on the back, and you basically have the flat underneath, and that's what's going to hold these so you don't have to swap out the tread. Otherwise, this is a component, and these treads and the other ones that I'm going to show, they have the same issue. So a lot of times these spacers go, and as soon as this flat on the front gives way, there's a trip and fall issue, and there's a liability that falls upon the owner, who will then go back to whoever fixed or inspected this fire escape. So this, all these treads, as you can see, and these are notorious. They were built to fail, and they've all started failing inside. Because see this split? That's where the water gets in and starts rotting the inside of these. Okay, again, through bolted correctly back into the building. This is actually showing some evidence that there's a new through bolt that went in somehow recently, probably in the past 15 to 25 years. But again, we got original hardware down below, and there's no evidence of rust inside the connection. So some of these original hardware connections are pretty good and fair to good order, and they just need to be load tested. Or if at this time the city accepts an opinion affidavit with a disclaimer, we can do that also here for this client. So paint job needed on this fire escape. Again, the grating everywhere throughout the whole fire escape, all the grating, definitely. So here's another area. Water's coming from this. You got to make sure that AC units can't be in windows that feed bedrooms. So the only thing you can have is an AC unit inside with a snorkel that comes outside, but you can't block. That's a liability for the owner. If anybody dies or gets hurt inside this because of this AC, you can't block an egress window. Unless you have two rooms, and these two windows belong in the same room, then you can, but you can't have the AC sticking out so much that it blocks people. But otherwise, if you have two windows to the same fire escape from the same room, you can have an AC in the window. Here's the debris that's accumulating, plus some of the moisture coming down. It's rotting this a little faster. You can see a lot of rot on that as from the excess moisture. But see this piece of angle right here holding this piece of grating? Look at all the rust inside. That's a ½ inch of rust. So that's got to be cleaned out and then rebolted. So these are some of the typical. And then up against the building, through rust jacking and ice jacking, it's starting to get that shelf angle there and pull it away from the building. So that needs to be cleaned. Silicone shut all that dirt and debris, which you can see here from tree product, leaves, gets in there. So 100% of the grating is starting to show it's splitting at the spacers. So these all need to be reinforced 100%. Otherwise, we're getting a little bit of a pull up here on all these. I think that looks like it's kind of original, and I think it had to do with the actual building, the belly in the building. But what you got to do is you got to come in here and silicone shut this to stop water getting from in here and feeding back into the building. So we need to verify that these are in good order by sort of tweaking up the nut a little bit to see if it's got any give of any kind. But then you got to seal these all up so water doesn't get back in there and make these connections suspect. Original hardware everywhere again on the fire escape, on the brackets. If you want, we can offer an opinion with a disclaimer. If they're in fair to good condition, or after they've been repaired, we can offer an opinion. Otherwise, a load test or a certification by swapping out all the fasteners is one of the three options here. So, see all that rust in there? You got to clean out all that rust. Then no new bolts, silicone shut it. Original gusset here with the original hardware. So we can load test this, or we can just provide you with an opinion affidavit on this, but again, it comes with the liability disclaimer. This side's full of rust, so this is all going to get redone anyway. See the spacers? Look, see all the rust inside the spacers of the treads? What happens is these rot out. This is going to let go of this front nose flat, and this is what's going to cause somebody to trip going down. When it's going to happen is that's what nobody knows, but you can definitely see rust inside every single one of these. And so these were made, basically the water comes in here, goes back into these spacers, and they're rotting out. So again, it's 50 to 75 years later, so it's about time they started showing. Original hardware. So anything that's original hardware in a good tight connection, we can either offer an opinion affidavit with disclaimer, or if you want to change the bolt out, that automatically eliminates the load test, or you can load test. So those are the three options. See this welded connection right there? Those welded connections, even though that weld might be in good order, you need to x-ray or load test it. But as soon as we pop a bolt through it, and that's what I highly recommend, that way there's never a weld failure. You pop a bolt through that, then there's no need. So pop a bolt there, and we can basically eliminate the concern that you would have with these welded connections that are now 25 plus years old or more. Alright, coming down, and again we have a fire escape that came from the roof. Pre-existing non-conforming issue with the catwalk. We have a pre-existing non-conforming issue with the rails being 36, but again, it's pre-existing condition, so there's no requirement to go up to 42, but all of these must be discussed with the city official. Some original hardware, some new hardware, and again, several options on that. So let's go down. Treads. On all these treads, these are all new bolts. These are all hex heads. So this one doesn't need to be load tested because we have fairly new fasteners on this particular fire escape here. But as you go down, you can start seeing the splits and where the rust is coming in on some of these treads. Higher up, we're getting more split on these than down below. But the case is that these are components, and a lot of times when these things are splitting, you can see the rust starting to get in there. So, but the far worse is the ones up above. All right, so then it lands here. You got to make sure that we have a cage door here. So this is a single action requiring no special knowledge. That's what this is here. And she's tying well into the bottom. Again, no rust buildup, but I would keep this painted silicone. And a lot of times we paint the cement so that it doesn't absorb water and feeds it back. And a lot of times we tar 6 to 8 inches of the bottom foot, so as snow accumulates here, it doesn't rot these feet out. But any place that has rust, you got to remove 100%. Okay. As an aside, I'll take a pictures of this wood one, but it's not an examination today. It's just a request to the owner and to the city official of whether or not this is going to be included in this inspection in the future, or currently today.